Okay, we are live here at Three Rooms Press headquarters, where tonight we present Love Equals Love Equals Love. 5 authors on equal love in literature. And tonight we feature authors that Three Rooms Press has published, including Alvin Orloff, author of Disasterama.
I can't hear.
Okay. We have...
Oh, here we go. I'm back.
Aimee Herman, author of Everything Grows. We have Aaron Hamburger, author of Nirvana Is Here. We have Meagan Brothers, author of Weird Girl and What's His Name. And we have Julia Watts, author of Quiver. Alvin is in San Francisco. Aimee is in New York, along with Meagan. And Aaron's in D.C. And Julia is holding up the South in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I am.
Yeah. So before we kind of separate, why don't you each just tell us a little bit about yourself? Let's start with you, Alvin.
Okay. I'm a California native. I live in San Francisco and have for a little over 40 years. I work in a bookstore and sell books all day, and then I come home and I read books and write books.
Yeah, it's on.
And I have 2 cats.
Cats. Okay, Aimee, how about you?
I'm sorry. I was listening to Alvin, but then worried about Aaron for his sound. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a teacher and a dog parent, and just trying to make my way through each day. I also write poetry and stories.
Good. Wow. All right. And now, Julia, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. I am originally from rural southeastern Kentucky, and I write sort of Appalachian LGBTQ fiction. Not a lot of competition in that field. And I live in Knoxville with my family, and yeah, I have 7 cats and 2 dogs, so lots of critters.
All right. And Aaron, how are you doing? Not yet. Okay, so Meagan, tell us a little bit about yourself. Meagan? Are you there?
Well,
Meagan.
I'm a writer.
Yes, we can hear you.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. We can hear you.
Uh-oh. Also originally from the South, from Western North Carolina originally, and Atlanta and South Carolina. And currently living in New York, and just, getting by like we all are right now. So that's about it.
All right. We'll be back with Aaron in just a couple minutes. He had a little technical difficulty, and so now he's going to reconnect. But while we're waiting for him, I thought maybe we'd just have a little one-on-one conversation. So let's start with our nonfiction author, Alvin Orloff, and Aimee and Julia and Meagan. I'm going to put you all in the green room and save the green M&Ms for me. But here, we'll put you over there. And Alvin, so, you're there in San Francisco. First of all, you are manager of Dog-Eared Books, which is the only bookstore in the Castro. And, it's so good that you're able to be open during... Finally, what's it like? What kinds of things are you doing to take care there in San Francisco for the bookstore?
San Franciscans are very, very good about COVID guidelines, and so pretty much everyone's wearing masks, and we've got plexiglass all over the place. So I'm working under plexiglass, and it's kind of, I don't know if anyone remembers the old TV show Get Smart. There was a cone of silence. It's like you're just encased in plastic the whole time, which is very, makes me feel secure, and that's good. And it's great because what else? People can't do a lot of things they normally do now, so they go to bookstores.
That's true. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. So you wrote Disasterama, and this was about your, adventures in the queer underground, 1977 to 1997. It was a finalist for Lambda Literary Award, and it's just such an interesting topic. This really sort of starts to cover uh, a lot of the change in attitude that I think has been to the LGBT community, but I think a lot of that change was able to be developed through literature. What do you think about that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, people imagined the world that they wanted to live in literature before, queer people did, before you could even really do that in film. I mean, there used to be, you could count the number of queer films on the fingers of one hand, back when I started, 1977, the starting point of that.
Right.
But there were more books, not that many more, but I mean, that was sort of where you went to think about queer topics.
Huh. Yeah. So, what kind of books influenced you early on?
Well, the essays of Fran Lebowitz. I know everyone's thinking about her right now because she has that TV show, Pretend It's a City. But when I read her essays, gosh, I guess it was Interview Magazine way back when, that just made me want to be a writer because I thought she was funny. And for novels, again, there weren't that many in 1977, but I think Dancer from the Dance was an early one, and Faggots by Larry Kramer. Those were certainly influential.
Yeah. So, why do you think it's important to include LGBTQIA plus characters in literature and fiction?
Well, I think people sort of create themselves through looking at movies and listening to music and reading books. The culture around you helps you pick and choose aspects of who you want to be from those possibilities presented to you. And so now people have this amazingly wide array of possibilities presented. And of course, people can come up with their own, but most people don't. Let's face it, we're all kind of a herd. Humans are herd animals. So we sort of need to have templates sort of to assemble our own personalities. And so, so the wider the variety, the better.
Yeah. All right. So let me put you back in the green room, and I'm going to talk to Aimee here. Hi, Aimee. So we'll talk to you a little bit more. I want to find out more too about what's selling now, and also just we'll get to a little more of the love aspect. All right. So, Aimee, so good to see you. I mean, we live just across the river, and we haven't been able to see each other live for almost a year, like everybody else. So, you were influenced early on, especially in writing by Kathy Acker. What can you tell us about your Kathy Acker's influence on your writing and your lifestyle and belief and everything?
Well, I would never dare to compare myself to Kathy Acker, but more of as a reader, when I read her writing, I didn't know that could be done.
Right.
The wildness, the rebellion, just like the like sex positivity, the grotesqueness of it all, I loved. And I don't know, I don't think I channel that in my writing. I definitely, it is weaved in my thoughts, but I think we should all be more encouraged as writers and readers and thinkers to be more wild and messy.
Yeah. And do you think that, what do you think is important about having equal love in literature? Like, equal love viewpoints, different viewpoints of love in literature.
It's visibility, like growing up, it was all just white, heterosexual, cisgendered. And so to have more Black and brown, people of color, Indigenous characters, differently abled characters, that we need more of that. And it needs to be less of a, oh my gosh, look at this book it's about. It's more, it needs to fill more shelves.
Yeah. Do you think that it has an influence on people, or it makes, or that, you know, so there's certain groups, there's different groups. One group would be the, you know, people who feel like any LGBTQ young adult literature is wrong. And, you know, it's like, okay, why? You know, the other is people who think that by having LGBTQ young adult literature, it's showing people that there's a place for the love that they feel when they're growing up. So, of course, you belong to the second group, but how do you think that works? How do you think?
I just think if we see more characters of diversity and more diverse stories as well, then it will feel less, you know, jarring to people, especially to those who are trying to ban any sort of literature that makes a statement and shows parts of lives that should be in the forefront anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure. So was there any particular book you read when you were growing up that kept you from that turned you know, you from being totally feeling alone and depressed to feeling like, yeah, there's a place for me to belong?
I have to mention Judy Blume, because as a young person like that, I was digesting that, Anastasia Krupnik and like Encyclopedia Brown, those sorts of books about like discovering things, which now makes a lot of sense. But also Rita Mae Brown, Ruby Fruit Jungle was my queer gate of excitement.
Right. All right. Okay. We're going to talk to you again in just a bit. And now we'll talk to Meagan Brothers, who is coming to us from Manhattan, Upper Manhattan. And Meagan, Aimee mentioned Judy Blume. A lot of people compared your book, Weird Girl and What's His Name, to being as important as Judy Blume. It's like the Judy Blume of our age, which was pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't know about that, but I think
so
I'm still happy with Judy on her throne where she is. But yeah, I loved Judy Blume back in the day. And also, thank you, Aimee, for mentioning Anastasia Krupnik, because that is like, everybody I think knows Lois Lowry from like The Giver and, you know, other books, but the Anastasia Krupnik series for me is like, that was the best growing up. I loved her.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
So you work in themes of friendship, as well as some, you know, your characters find themselves in awkward situations. Why do you think this is important to include in your book? In fact, there was some more conservative places that were saying that as a criticism that you were showing a character who was in a illicit relationship. Male adult with a boy.
Yeah, I thought you meant awkward just as like nerdy awkward.
That too.
I don't know how to be unawkward, Kat. The relationship with Rory and Andy in that book. I mean, it's not meant to be. That's not meant to be the relationship that you're rooting for. And I think that, you know, with that relationship, I wanted to show, you know, somebody that's struggling to find the right place for them, and they think that there's something, you know, somebody that they connect with, but it's not right. It's not, and they're young and they're not able to see that, but the older person should have seen that, and it just it shows that, and that character, you know, his mom's not present for him. He's not being honest with his best friend. You know, it just shows how, like, when you're sort of, hopefully it conveys that when you're locked down and you don't feel like you have anybody you can turn to, you can get into a situation where maybe you're being manipulated, or, you know, it's just not 100% healthy relationship for you at that time.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I hope that was able to have some sensitivity with that, and I hope that it didn't come off to people as something that I was being flippant about in any way. But I think I don't know.
No, you weren't. Yeah, and the attempt of the weird girl to try to have a relationship with her teacher, who is like, no, what are you doing? I thought that was that was good and brilliant and nerdy too. So
well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think when you're young, you have a tendency to sometimes, if you don't fit in with your immediate social scene, maybe imagine yourself as part of like the adult world, but you're really not quite ready to be there yet. So in some ways, that's what that book was touching on, as much as sort of the LGBT, finding one's own identity kind of themes.
Right.
Trying to speak to that as well, just like.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll get back to you. More on that later. And let's bring up Aaron Hamburger. Can you hear us, Aaron? Oh,
yes,
good.
Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes, your phone is wonderful. Okay, so Aaron is the author of Nirvana Is Here. And what did you find? What kind of books influenced you early on, or were inspiring to you early on in terms of writing about LGBTQ characters and making them as important as anyone else in the book?
Well, when I was growing up, I had a very hard time finding any kind of gay literature. So I tended to read gayness into books where maybe the authors hadn't intended it. Like David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, to me was a very queer story. You know, David and his crush on his schoolmate Steerforth really spoke to me as somebody who had crushes on his own schoolmates. But then as I got to college, I was really actively seeking out queer narratives, and I found a book called Martin and John by Dale Peck that was really, it was just fabulously written. And, you know, I'd read a lot of queer stories that were sort of entertaining or were more, you know, popcorn lit, you know, but this was like decidedly literary fiction and was really determined to put, you know, queer lives at the center of a literary novel. And that was very inspiring to me, to know that it could be done.
Right. I think that's, like I was saying earlier, I think the 21st century is really turning out to be the golden age of queer literature, and it's sophisticated stories. They're brilliantly told. They're very literary, and you know, your Nirvana Is Here is certainly among those. You are able to not only show you were able to show that awkwardness of a high school relationship too, with people not necessarily having the same idea about how things were going to go, and also bring a main queer or partially queer or character of color into the story as well. So how did you find this to be an important element to include in your telling of love in queer literature?
Yeah, you know, there's this great quote. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. There's this great quote from Eve Sedgwick, you know, who's a pioneer of queer theory, where she says, you can't understand relations between men and women unless you understand the relation between people of the same gender, including the possibility of a sexual relationship between them. And I would generalize out from that, and I would talk about, you can't understand what it's like to be a man or a woman or non-binary, you know, unless you've thought about all the possibilities of gender. You can't understand what it's like to be white unless you think about what it's like not to be white. And I just think it's important for us to all try to understand each other, investigate each other's lives, and to read widely, just as we would interact widely in the world.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Thank you. We're going to get back to you in just a minute. And here we're going to bring up our final panelist, Julia Watts. Julia Roberts.
a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Nice
not quite
quilt.
so leggy.
Okay, Julia. Julia is the author of Quiver. And which is it tells a story of friendship between a transgendered teen and another teen who was very fundamentalist, raised very fundamentalist. So friendship is love, and I think having this being shown is as important as anything else. Showing that people can accept each other. Is that what you were aiming for in your book, Quiver?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we're living in these times of, the so-called culture wars, I wanted to show the possibility of friendship between people who are sort of on, well, not just sort of, who are very much on opposite sides in terms of how they've been brought up and what their values are. But that they're still very drawn to each other as people, right? And
Right.
that those connections are possible. We don't have to, hate each other if we disagree with each other about some things.
Right. Well, I thought was one thing that was interesting is you write, in addition to writing a lot of queer YA literature, you also have written some lesbian erotica. So
Yes.
this brought this for some reason people couldn't quite handle that one person could do both of these things. What happened?
Right.
Tell us what happened at that book festival.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you've already said I'm in Tennessee, so I'm in the Bible Belt. That was definitely a factor. Yeah, back in the summer, I was invited to participate in this teen literary festival here in Knoxville. It was called Lit Up. Somebody thought they were really clever with that pun, I guess. But I was invited, but then I was uninvited. Because someone, a parent or a board member or someone in a position of authority, Googled me. And she did not like what she saw when she Googled me because in addition to my YA work, she saw that I had written some erotica. I have to say, if anybody ran out and bought my erotica as a result of this controversy, they were probably disappointed because it's it's not really that shocking. It's very much erotica in the context of relationships.
Right.
But yeah, there was a huge controversy. I was interviewed by like the Washington Post and Publishers Weekly. It was a tempest in a very big teapot.
Wow.
But I think it got some good conversations going about about the nature of literary freedom and censorship, and also that writers can write more than one damn thing, which is I
think that's
we can see that just from our panel. We've got people who write who write all kinds of stuff. So that was the strangest part of it to me, is that there was shock. That somebody could write in more than one genre.
Right. Well, Meagan Weird Girl, and what's his name, was also selected for a diverse library program, and I forget what city it was in. I think it was in Virginia. Do you remember, Meagan?
I do not, actually. I maybe wasn't aware of this. Did I get banned?
Yeah, no, you did. You got discussed, and actually, Weird Girl was one of the books, and they were saying, why is this considered to be diverse literature? All it's trying to do is turn our children into, something we don't want them to be. It's like, really?
X-Files fans?
Yeah. No. Usually it means if you're going to turn them into people who want to buy the book that's banned, right?
Yeah, right. I know. Please, buy a big pile of them and burn them. As far as make sure it's a really big pile.
Yeah.
Get them all.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. No, this is actually the first I'm hearing about that, and thrilled. But no, I mean, I hate to tell these folks, but homosexuality, two-spiritism, all this stuff has been going on since the dawn of time. So I don't think that writing a young adult book about it in the year of our Lord 2020 or whatever it is now is going to suddenly cause some kind of a cosmic schism that hasn't already happened. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm happy to try to do my part for the cosmic schism, but I don't think that writing this book was it. So I don't know. It is, as Julia said, that's kind of Tempest in a Teapot stuff. I think every once in a while, like somebody freaks out because they find their kid reading a book that makes them uncomfortable in some kind of way, and they have to have a discussion about things they don't want to discuss and pretend like nothing happens, and babies arrive via stork and all that stuff.
Right. Okay, well, I'm gonna bring the rest of our panelists back here. Here's Aimee, Alvin, and Aaron. Okay, can everybody hear?
Yes.
All right, good deal. So, I mean, we're not talking about something new, with love being depicted in literature. I mean, you can always go back if you really want to get controversial. You can go back to Greece and Catalyst 16 with the opening line, "I will sodomize and Facebook you." So that but of course that's not really what it means. But anyway, what I find interesting is that even as recently as 1973, Thomas Pynchon, Gravity's Rainbow, was unanimously recommended by a Pulitzer Prize fiction jury to receive the 1974 award, and then Pulitzer decided not to give an award for fiction that year. So it's like, what? And Gore Vidal wrote The City of the Pillar in 1948, first novel with an openly gay and well-adjusted protagonist.
Yep.
Who's not killed off at the end of the story. And the New York Times, they refused to publish ads for the novel, and Gore Vidal was blacklisted. No major newspaper or magazine would review any of his novels for 6 years. So that's a lot of change, thank God, that's come around since in the meantime. So let's just talk a little bit together about in fiction and nonfiction, sex scenes can range from a kiss to a full-throated, hot, steamy session. It can be awkward. It can be anything. As a writer, how do you decide how far to go? And let's start with Aaron. Aaron?
So I always think about writing about sex like writing about food. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Am I coming through?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I always say, if it's just like writing about food, if what the characters are eating has something to say about, who they are as personalities, then go into what they're having for lunch. If it's, they're just true with sex, it's like, how does the way the characters relate to each other sexually reveal something about their character? Because sex without characterization is pornography, which has its uses too, but it's different from fiction. So character
that's
is
a great
the ultimate test.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. And Alvin, in Disasterama, you have quite a few different scenes, like the first sexual scene that your narrator, which is you, because it's a memoir, is absolutely about as far from erotic and beautiful as it can be. So. What do you do in both your nonfiction and fiction to decide how you're going to write about how far do you go for a sex scene?
Well, I don't really enjoy reading about sex for whatever reason, but so I just include sex if it's a plot point, if it moves the plot forward in a novel, or if it moves the story forward in the case of a memoir, then you include the sex scene if it's, you know, important to the, like Aaron said, to the character development, or if it is something that is going to be, you know, affecting somebody's character arc. But I don't really describe anything in a way that will arouse people.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's kind of like movies that have sex scenes that are from the 70s. Those used to be really big. They run into me, show the total, you know, intimacy of everything. And now they just look boring. Is that because I'm old, or because they're just like, they're not really that interesting? What do you think, Aimee?
I think when it comes to sex, I was about to say everyone has sex, but not everyone has sex. But I think that everyone in a story who wants to be having sex should get that part in the storyline. I actually started as an erotica writer. I wrote erotica for a really long time, and like queer erotica, straight erotica, and I think sex should be funny and awkward, and it doesn't have to be like dripping and throbbing and heaving. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So I think like more of a variety of types of sex, not just acts, but just like the emotions and the awkwardness should be there too.
Right. And you do have some pretty hot scenes in Everything Grows, you know, which are just beautiful and revealing and character revealing too, you know, like just surprising. So I forgot to mention this, but all of these books are, we have a little ticker at the bottom. All of these books are available for 20% off when you buy them from this website, which is bit.ly/3RP-LGBTQ-books, and the code is love. So 20% off now until the end of February. But if you want to help support these great authors and, you know, Three Rooms Press, then please purchase them, and we do us all a good favor. So what do you think about the where literature is going, where queer literature is going? Do you think it's going to be including more trans people of color, more sex workers? They are now part of the LGBT, or the Pride flag has now added a sex workers red umbrella, as well as triangles showing for trans people of color, and I don't even know all of the different colors. Sorry, but it's a lot of different layers are being covered now. Where do you think that is going, Julia? Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, I think that particularly from a YA standpoint, things are getting more and more inclusive in young adult fiction. I think there's a real move toward that right now. I think Black Lives Matter has had a tremendous impact on awareness for the need of you know, more diverse characters in fiction. I think from my experience as somebody, you know, I wrote my first young adult novel in 2002. And people were nervous. Publishers were nervous about novels depicting, you know, just lesbian or gay teens at that time. They were nervous about any scenes with, you know, sexuality being displayed between these teens. And now, you know, if you look at a more contemporary novel, including like Aimee's and Meagan's, you know, it's much more realistic. It's much more inclusive. So, I mean, I do think things are a lot more fearless than they used to be, which is good. We want fearless literature.
Yeah. Okay. Before I go any further, I gotta ask y'all. Valentine's Day, love it or hate it? You know, I mean, let's go through one at a time. Meagan.
I'm not a fan. I gotta be honest. I just think it's like it just makes single people feel bad, and then it makes like couples feel bad because they're supposed to do like a big, bouquet of roses thing. And it's like, if you want to be a good partner, like just try to be a good partner a little bit every day, like not just save them up for one giant gazonga
What
thing.
about the little candy hearts?
That's all right.
All right. Aimee, love it or hate it? Valentine's Day.
I mean, this might be controversial, but I'm a big fan of chocolates that come in a box with a guide, and then you get a large assortment during Valentine's Day. But my spouse and I celebrate half off Candy Day, which is the day after Valentine's Day. Far better celebration.
Do you pick the bottoms out of the chocolate so you can figure out what's in them? And
sometimes I bite it, I put it back. It's
all right, Alvin, love it or hate it? Valentine's Day.
Love it. I'm kind of a cheapskate, so I don't buy flowers on a regular basis, but I have the perfect excuse. Once a year, I just have to spend money on flowers.
Yeah, cool. And when you ran your clubs, did you ever have Valentine's Day themes for?
Oh yeah, we would latch on to any holiday, any excuse, yeah.
All right. And Aaron, how about you? Valentine's Day, love it or hate it? What do you think, Aaron? Do you love Valentine's Day?
I don't know if we can hear you.
He just has a delay. Maybe he can't hear. Okay, so we're going to get to the fun part right now, which is okay. Aaron, was that you?
Yeah, it's a great chance to make dessert. I mean,
yeah.
There you go. All right. What I am so excited about now is each of these authors is now going to read.
We had an ice storm here in DC, so nothing with.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope it stays. You stay connected. But what I'd like to do now is have each of y'all read a little bit of a love scene from your book. So why don't we have Meagan? Are you ready? Are you up for that?
Sure, I can do that.
All right, that sounds great. So this is Meagan Brothers, and you're reading from Weird Girl, or what's his name? All right.
Cool. It's not really a love scene per se, but I was going to read this one scene where we're sort of introducing a character who is of interest to one of our protagonists. And I guess I should say one thing I was interested in with the book is just one of the two main characters is sort of exploring her own identity and like trying to figure out where she sort of lands and on the spectrum. And so she to condense this, because it happens in the middle of the book. So she meets a friend when she starts going to classes at community college and hanging out with her. And so she's older and she's cool and she's sort of come back home. And so this is the description of Lula, one of our protagonists, meeting Jay. Jay was actually named Julia Fillmore, but everybody called her Jay. I met her in the school library on orientation day. She was a student too, but she worked in the library as part of the work exchange. She caught me staring at her tattoo when I came back to check out a book. Jay had two interlocking female symbols in rainbow colors on the inside of her right forearm. She told me I looked like that girl from the missing posters, and I told her I was. Cool, she said. I found you. We talked for a while, and then she asked me if I wanted to come over and hang out sometime. She lived right off campus, and we could just watch a movie and drink some beer or whatever. I went over one afternoon, and next thing I knew, I was telling her the whole story about Rory and Sam and how I ran away and all. I felt like I was reeling off this epic tale, but Jay seemed pretty unimpressed by the whole thing. She just cocked an eyebrow and said, interesting, or I can see your point there. Anyway, it was nice to finally have someone to talk to. Jay was biding her time too, just like I was. She'd been right in the middle of getting her master's degree in art history from Smith College when she dropped out. She'd gotten into a messed up relationship with one of her professors, a woman named Carol who had a kid. It left her so wrecked she moved back to Hawthorne, where she rented a crummy little factory house from her elderly aunt. Jay was trying to leave art behind completely and start over with a degree in psychology. According to Jay, my crush on Rory and my incident with Sam was no big deal, and I shouldn't even worry about whether or not I was gay or straight, because my whole thing was less about sexual identity than it was acting out a whole psychological something or other, which Jay described using terms like Kinsey scale and Gestalt that I only pretended to understand. At any rate, I figured Jay should know, since she was 26 and she'd had a whole serious, life-altering relationship with this woman at Smith, this woman who had a kid. Kids make it complicated, Jay told me, exhaling smoke and looking sad. No, not sad. Jay had a great way of looking like she was too cool to care, but like it was the heaviest thing and she couldn't carry it anymore. She looked both ways at once. How old was the kid? 7. She was great, too. I thought I never wanted kids, you know, but then, Jay groaned and waved her hand. Conversation over. Jay could do that, just wave her hand and change the subject. It seemed like Jay was always in charge, even though she insisted that her life was a mess and she couldn't believe she was back in this shithole town. Jay dressed like she couldn't decide if she was a hippie or a punk. Like she'd wear bell-bottom jeans and Doc Martens with a ripped-up t-shirt that had some band name on it, the Slits or the Breeders or X-Ray Specs. Jay was tall and dark-haired and really pretty, but she never wore makeup because she said she hated all that beauty regime bullshit the media forces down our throats. Well, sometimes she wore eyeliner and mascara.
All right. Yay.
Thank you, guys.
Yay. All right. So I'm going to add Aaron back to our stream here. And that was great. That was fantastic. Let's go next to Alvin. Alvin, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the solo layout. So here you go. Alvin Orloff.
Ooh. Okay, so this is from Disasterama. And this little scene takes place when I am 17, 2 weeks shy of my 18th birthday. And I've snuck into the Stud, which was the coolest gay bar in San Francisco. The only one in 1981 that played new wave music. And I went there with my friend Jennifer Blowdryer, and she sort of latched onto this fellow named Michael. And Michael's just coming after the bar. It has closed. We're all going home. And just climbed up the stairs, and here's the scene. Then, once inside our flat, Michael turned to me with a bedimpled smile and put his hand on my shoulder. "Which way's your bedroom?" I couldn't have been more shocked if I'd stuck a wet finger into a light socket. My heart raced and thudded wildly as we fell onto my single, unmade bed. Michael's skin felt silky warm, and he smelled like playing in the backyard on a sunny summer day. Then he kissed me, and I saw stars, explosions, implosions, transmogrifications, fireworks. The earth moved, time grooved, and I fell through a crack in the space-time continuum to find myself inside an imaginary David Bowie song, a lost track from the Ziggy Stardust album, all about Michael and me and our cosmic communion. There.
Wow. That's a yay. That was short and sweet. What ends up happening later in that scene?
Well, I guess they don't really quite consummate their love, my love doesn't get consummated, and it turns out that one of the many beautiful permutations of love relationships is the pattern is set for that, where I become Michael's acolyte rather than his lover.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and that's as pure love too as you could have. Yeah. So, all right. So, Aimee, are you ready? Okay, we're going to hear from now Aimee Herman. So, she's going to be reading from Everything Grows. Yay.
So just a quick setup. This takes place in 1993, and we're in a movie theater. And Eleanor, the protagonist in the story, it's her first date. Her lips pushed against mine, and I could taste everything she had eaten all day. Bubble gum, peanut butter sandwich, that sweet caramel from the Milk Duds. I wondered what I tasted like to her. A few times our teeth clinked together like glasses, but we just continued. It's like we were desperate, as though our mouths had been waiting for this moment. And I forgot to breathe, or maybe I was breathing inside her. We were inhaling each other's exhales. This was what I've been reading about in Judy Blume books and watching on Shirley's soap operas. The rage of tongues. It felt amazing. And then Tanea, with tongue in my mouth, took her hands and began sliding them up my shirt. I jumped, unprepared for this dive from first base to second. Second, right? Yeah, this is definitely second. French kiss, up the shirt, down the pants, home run. What would even be our home run? She slowly parted her lips from mine and said, "You all right?" Yeah, I muttered. I wasn't expecting that. Your breasts feel so good to me. Want to feel mine? Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. Maybe I gave too much breath away to her while we were kissing. I pulled my shirt down and fixed my bra, which I hate. Yeah, but I don't like that. What don't you? Shh. Someone from a few rows up turned around to scold us. Sorry, I whispered back. I hate my breasts, I said, in the thinnest whisper I could possibly make. But they're so nice. Damn, I wish mine were small like yours. Mine are so heavy. They hurt my back. Oh, well, yeah, I clumsily said. I never thought about the weight of breasts and how they could affect the rest of you. I just really want to touch you, Tanea said. I smiled, though she couldn't see this, feeling such pleasure from being wanted, from her wanting to explore me. Well, you can touch me anywhere, she added. And so I did, with her permission. We smacked our lips back together and I headed to second base. Her breasts were large, rolling around in my hands. I wanted it to be bright enough to see them, to understand what I was touching, but maybe it was the dark that encouraged our boldness. In the dark, she moaned, and I worried we'd be shushed again, but no one seemed to pay any mind to us. I had no idea what was happening on screen, even though I could hear the characters speak. But all of it just became background music to us. Tanea was wearing lacy underwear. I couldn't tell you the color because of the darkness, but I could feel with my fingers the stitching and scratch of it. If blushing made a sound, the whole movie theater would have scolded me because I just know I was covered in head to toe skin flush. I couldn't believe. Actually, I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Aimee. Woo! All right. That was beautiful. So now let's hear from Aaron Hamburger. Are you ready, Aaron? I think he is. Aaron, can you hear me? Aaron? There he is. Aaron.
Okay,
so
can you hear me?
Yeah, we're gonna put you up right now,
Yep.
and reading from Nirvana Is Here. Okay.
Hi. Awesome. So, one is white from the suburbs, and this guy Justin would go to the same school. Who was black from the city of Detroit. They're sort of developing a little crush on each other, and it is about to come to fruition. For a while, my skin was warm and tingling. And I kept wiping my forehead with my sleeve. My ears, I tried analyzing Justin with my underdeveloped gaydar. He struck out on all counts. His hairstyle wasn't unusually fussy. He liked sports. He didn't care about fashion or female singers. Still, he bought me a concert ticket to see Nirvana. It meant something. You're quiet again, he said. Aren't I entertaining you? Aw, fuck off, Ari. Just tell me what you're thinking. Something in the air that night. Or maybe the afterglow.
Oh no, we lost Aaron. Oh dear. Okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. We're gonna bring back Aaron if we can a little bit later. But meanwhile, you should check out Nirvana Is Here. It's a beautiful scene of Ari, the main character, first coming and having an interaction with Justin, his crush. So now we'd like to hear from Julia. So are you ready, Julia?
I am ready. You know, it's funny. I was thinking there's not a love scene in Quiver, but there sort of is,
Yeah.
because Zoe, the gender non-binary character, has a best friend, Claire, who is trans and who's living back in Knoxville while Zoe is living in the country. Um, and here's a conversation that the two of them have, which is it's actually very near the end of the book, but it doesn't spoil anything about the book's major plot. Um, Claire reaches out and touches my arm. So are you feeling better now? Less depressed? Things are a little better, I guess. Mom's taking me to look at used cars this week, so that'll help. But I still feel lonely sometimes. I'm over Hadley, but I still miss what we had when it was good, which is why you should remind yourself how it was when it was bad. True, but you never liked Hadley. I had my reasons, but as long as she was making you happy, I kept my mouth shut. Rationally, I know there were many reasons not to like Hadley. I knew that even when I loved her. I know that she had her faults, but sometimes I'm scared I'll never have that kind of closeness again, that nobody will ever be interested in me that way. Claire looks me in the eye. Maybe somebody already is. Who? I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. The only people I see are my family. Claire pulls away her hand. For a smart person, you can be really dumb sometimes. I don't understand. Claire leans forward, putting her face close to mine. Zoe, what about me? You? All the confusion of the past 24 hours is weighing on me. It's too much. Did it ever occur to you that one reason I didn't like Hadley is because I was jealous? But you were crushing on, what's his name? That guy with the long hair and gauges. Oh, him. That was just physical. He looked like a guy in a band I like. But you and me, we've been friends so long, and I've watched you grow into this beautiful androgynous creature. Girl and boy, and neither, and both, and points in between. I never said anything because there was Hadley, and then you were hurt so bad I didn't want to risk messing up our friendship. Tears glitter in Claire's eyes. They're beautiful. I don't know what to say. Claire wipes at a tear. You don't have to say anything. Just think about it. I mean, I wasn't born with the right parts. I don't know if that's too much of an obstacle for you. It sure is one for me. I hadn't even been thinking about that part. I'd been wondering how I could have been so blind to Claire's feelings, and maybe blind to my own, too. You're a girl. It doesn't matter what accessories you come with. Uh, Claire smiled, so to speak. I grinned back. A dirty girl. That too. She takes my hand and holds it tight this time. Listen, you're my best friend no matter what, and I love you no matter what. I can keep on being your best friend without doing anything different. But if you want, there could be more. Think about it, okay? I'm already thinking. And I love you no matter what, too. Funny, smart, beautiful Claire, in love with me, of all people. Life is full of surprises, good and bad. This is a good one. Stop there.
All right. Yay. Thank you, Julia. Okay. So, Aaron, you're back here. Aaron is suffering from an ice storm in Washington, D.C. that's wreaking havoc on the internet. Before I go any further, he's got a new phone that he's trying. So, Aaron, can we hear you?
Yes.
Oh,
And
my
this is a
God.
true Valentine's Day story because my husband came to the rescue. He just got a new iPhone, which is like more state of the art than mine. And he quickly found the link, logged me in on his phone. So.
Oh my God, you sound great. Okay, let's go ahead and start from the beginning of your scene. Okay.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody, for your patience.
Thank you, Anthony.
And thank you, Anthony. So two characters, Ari, white from the suburbs of Detroit, Justin, black from the city of Detroit. They go to the same school. They have bonded over the band Nirvana. It's the 90s, and here we go. Back in the parking lot, we sat in Justin's car for a while. My skin was warm and tingling, and I kept wiping my forehead with my sleeve. My ears were still ringing. I wondered if Justin's were too. I tried analyzing Justin with my underdeveloped gaydar. He struck out on all counts. His hairstyle wasn't unusually fussy. He liked sports. He didn't care about fashion or female singers. Still, He bought me a Nirvana concert ticket. That meant something. You're quiet again, he said. Aren't I entertaining you? It's nothing. Aw, fuck off, Ari. Just tell me what you're thinking. Something in the air that night, or maybe the afterglow of the concert, made me feel like being frank all of a sudden. Justin, why don't you have a girlfriend? He hunched his shoulders. Do I need a reason? How about you, Don Juan? I haven't met the right person, I guess. At our school, no wonder. Might as well wait until college. Yeah, I said. I bet the girls will be all over you there. He cocked his head. So, Ari Silverman, what do you want to do now? I don't know. My tongue suddenly swelled up in my mouth. Go home? He smirked at me. Yeah, is that what you want to do? No, I said in a low voice. Justin stretched his legs and yawned as if preparing for a nap. Nick Miller is gay, I blurted out, and instantly felt awful for spilling his secret. Justin opened his eyes wide. How do you know that? He told me. You know what else he said? He said he knows that he can tell if someone else is gay too, like a kind of sixth sense. Isn't that funny? But Justin wasn't laughing. No one can tell that just by looking at someone. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, his fingers making small rubbing noises against the vinyl. I have no problem with the whole gay thing. It's bisexuality that really weirds me out. Like, make a choice one way or the other. Yeah, I said, but I wasn't really paying attention. So is that like half Latin, half Greek, he asked? I gave him a quizzical look. Bisexuality, you know the word? Oh, no, it's all Latin. If it were half Greek, it would be disexuality. Disexuality, die, Justin said, giggling. Who was this guy? I touched my forehead to the cold pane of the passenger window. Anyway, it's not like a math equation, I said, shivering. I mean, sexuality, it's not that simple. Why are you always so down on math? We weren't talking about math. We were talking about sex. Were we? I rested my fingertips on his shoulder. He looked at my hand, then at me. Yeah, I said, I think we were. Justin was staring at my face so intently, I thought he might attack me. You want to do something? He asked in a low voice, barely above a whisper. I'll stop there.
Whoa. All right, Aaron. And thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to come back in and give us that cool scene. And I think so. We're gonna wrap this up now. Any final thoughts on wishing people good success on Valentine's Day? No, I mean, who's gonna get the best chocolate? That's what I want to know. Yeah. So
well, I made a red velvet cake. I think that's the Valentine's dessert.
Yeah, if it's anything as good as the cookies that you gave the recipe for last time, then it must be delicious. So, is anybody doing anything tomorrow for Valentine's Day? Going out?
No.
No. But if you, like so many other people, are not going out for Valentine's Day, then you should be sure to pick up one of these authors' fine books. Again, it's at with the code LOVE, you can get 20% off. And the easy to remember thing is bit.ly/3RP-LGBTQ-books. So please, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Oh, do we have anybody who has any questions here? The day after chocolate is the way to go. Yeah, somebody said, was at that Riot Girl Festival at the wetlands with Bikini Kill, Bratmobile, and others. That's cool. Shutting off your video might help. Anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right now. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great Valentine's Day, everyone. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay? Bye. Bye.
Valentine.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.